It's 9 a.m., time for the only garden talk radio show in Milwaukee. Tell your friends, the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener is on the air. Join us and let's grow together.
Coming up this week on the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener radio show, it's about 5 mistakes people who dehydrate food make. We'll fix those for you, as well as canning techniques to make sure your canning season is a safe one. Our guest, Amy Stross, she is a permaculture garden writer and educator, author of the book, The Micro Farm. She's got a variety of backgrounds in home small-scale production. Will be with us, as well as your garden questions. So tell, tweet, text your friends that Garden Radio is on the air, because it all starts right now.
Welcome to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener radio show with your hosts, Joey and Holly Baird, some of the realest gardeners that you'll ever know. Always willing to share their knowledge, mistakes, and working to grow together. Founders of the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com that contains over 1,100 garden videos to show and teach others to grow some of what they eat. Join them for the next hour as they cover practical gardening information that has worked for them and more. Now here they are.
It's the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener radio show on 860 AM WNOV and W293CX 106.5. We're so happy that you have joined us. You can also find us on the Simple Radio app, the TuneIn app, and a variety of other platforms that we are not aware of, as well as the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com. There's a number of ways. Well, I'm your host, Joey Baird. Beside me is my wife, co-host, best friend, gardening partner,
Holly Baird. Way to forget me.
Yeah. There's a number of ways in which you can contact us. One is you can tweet us using hashtag TWVG. You can tweet us with our Twitter handle at TWVG Show. You can email us at twvgshow at gmail.com. That's twvgshow at gmail.com. Or you can call into the IV Organics 3-in-1 Plant Guard hotline.
IV Organic 3-in-1 Plant Guard naturally protects plants against damaging sunburn, insects, and rodents, protects newly installed plants and trees, shields pruned and damaged surfaces for use on your roses, fruit and nut trees, ornamental trees, and shrubs. This product is non-toxic, environmentally safe, and organic. For more information, visit ivorganics.com. The number you can call in anytime with your question or comment is 414-444-5250.
And you can do that anytime during the show. Well, we're going to get into the program, and when people preserve, and we've talked about this on the program several different times, there's a number of ways in which you can preserve your harvest. You can we'll talk about that in the second segment. You can just eat it as it is. You can freeze it.
You can even keep some things in the refrigerator for a while, too.
You can ferment it as well. So one of the things that we're going to talk about is dehydration of food. This is a great way in which you can preserve it for literally years to a certain degree if it's kept in a proper environment. Mm-hmm. The dehydration, okay? First of all, let's talk about what we bring this up. Nesco is a sponsor of our garden talks. You've been with us at our library talks and other locations. Nesco, the dehydrating and slow cooking company, they sponsor the talk. So we're going to bring up they've got great dehydrators, and you can get any type of dehydrator. What is best to dehydrate your food with is a dehydrator that has a fan that pushes the air through the material. There are different dehydrators in which there's a heating coil at the bottom, and we're not asking you to go buy something from Nesco. I'm just explaining to you what the best unit, if you're going to go buy one, is. There's heating units or coils in the bottom of these units that the heat gradually rises up with no force of fans whatsoever. I have found from personal experience those do not work very good at all. You want that force of warm or hot air blowing through the trays, through the food, to dehydrate it in an even fashion, in a timely fashion. That's the best dehydrator that we have found that works. There's 5 mistakes that people make when dehydrating. You know, you would think, okay, I'm just going to take some tomatoes or peppers, whatever, throw in the dehydrator, and 12 hours later I'm going to have dehydrated peppers or sun-dried tomatoes. That's not really always the case.
Right. So one thing you want to keep in mind is that you don't want to over or under dehydrate. So you kind of have to watch it. There's lots of recipes online, all that information.
They come with a guideline.
And they do come with a guideline.
And a temperature gauge on most of these units between 90 and 145, 160 degrees. And it says approximate for approximate time. This is not, science. Based on food all has different water consistencies.
And that's the biggest thing, is that you don't want to under-dehydrate, because if you under-dehydrate, then when you store it, it could possibly mold, it could just mushy, something like that.
Right. It's still having that water consistency, that percentage of moisture that, again, will mold, and then you've wasted the time of energy.
Right. So there's that, and then over-dehydrating, you're just going to
turn into a leaf.
Pretty much, like, it's not going to be tasty, I think, or it's going to be very brittle.
There's like a 6 to 8% moisture content that you want in these. You want them to be, not bone dry, leaf fall dry. You want it to have some consistency, a little moisture that holds on to the that's in the item. And the reason why we dehydrate, what is occurring, Holly, whenever we dehydrate, let's say, basil or thyme or tomatoes or peppers? What is really occurring?
Sure. So
what's being removed and what is staying?
The liquid the moisture of the food or whatever is being removed, and the main properties of that are staying.
The flavors are staying. The oils are staying.
Right, the beneficial parts.
So essentially, when you dehydrate something, basil is a good example, or herbs, you're removing the moisture content, the water, but you're leaving the properties and the oils and the flavors, which actually intensifies the flavor of that particular item in which you're dehydrating.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that allows you to get, tomatoes. We did sun-dried tomatoes. That's what we call them. That's what is called in the industry. But you put them in a dehydrator. And we find that it really eliminates almost totally the acidity that you're used to when you eat a red tomato.
And they get really sweet. They're very sweet. It's almost like
candy. It's tomato candy is essentially what it is. Mm-hmm. Obviously, not everybody likes that flavor. Now, they work phenomenal if you're making noodles. Throw them in right at the end. They get a little soft, a little chewy, but they add that sweetness that you're not. It's a totally. I don't want to say it's a totally different property, but it's a totally different taste. You wouldn't expect that on a dehydrated tomato to have that type of flavor. You're used to that acidity, that little bitterness. Opposite when it comes to the dehydration of the tomatoes.
Definitely.
So yeah, over or under. Big difference. You got to pay attention. This is not a put in, walk away, come back type of thing. There's some finessing that you have to understand with a particular machine, the environment in which you are in, your house, the dryness or the dampness of the air. So that's one.
And then you want to make sure you're paying attention to the thickness. And then that's
just like when you're doing any type of cooking, if the consistency is the same, it will all cook at the same rate. You don't have stuff overcooked or undercooked if you're cooking potatoes or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's one. That's another one. The temperature. So again, it's going to come with a guideline, but you can also find many resources online, books, all sorts of good information. But the temperature is key, because if you dehydrate it at too high of a temperature, too low, depending on what it is, it might not dehydrate properly, too fast, too slow. So that's why you want to make sure you're doing the right temperature.
And people will ask us, can I take my seeds, my onion seeds, my bean seeds, my tomato seeds, and dehydrate them to get them to dry out so I can store them? The safe answer is no, because if you dehydrate your seeds, let's say you got a whole bunch of bush bean seeds that you're trying to dry out to store. If you dehydrate them at too high of a temperature, you will destroy the germination inside of the seed, and then you have it's not good. Your best option when drying seeds, put it on a plate in an indirect area in the corner where it doesn't get direct sunlight. Let it dry naturally for 2 or 3 weeks. Then you know the properties and the germination is as good as it possibly can be, just like it would be drying on the vine outdoors. Don't put it in a heat environment like a dehydrator. It's not going to be good.
Right. So that's another one. You want to taste test your recipe before dehydrating. I think that's important because, for one, you're going to spend the time and energy to dehydrate.
How do you do this? Like, if you're making a consistency like homemade fruit roll-ups, you can taste that liquid.
Yeah, or like some people I made dehydrator cookies once, so I tasted the recipe before. It was like a soaked oats type thing. People do that. They make like dehydrated crackers, things like that. So you want to make sure that when you taste it, it's not going to be too salty or too sweet or something like that.
And like we talked with a couple of weeks ago, making small batch canning, do a small batch dehydrating.
You could definitely do that. Or do several. If you have something that can go in at the same time, you can try smaller recipes.
Right. These dehydrators, the Nesco, you start out with 4 trays. You can expand to 30 trays. That's a lot of material in which you are preserving. And if you go 30 trays of something and you find out later you don't really like that, you're throwing that away or you're having to find somebody to give it to. So do a small batch and then go from there.
Then we also have, you want to make sure you're storing it properly.
Explain that. What is proper storage of a dehydrated item?
Sure. So a lot of people will think, okay, I dehydrated all this, I can just put it in a zip top bag and it'll be fine. And that's not the case, because zip top bags are not completely, they can kind of sit, get mushed down, things like that. So
there's no structure
to that. Right. So what you can do...
Okay, so it's not so much that it will go bad in a Ziploc bag, it's the storage properties that, crushed and now you've got a bunch of crumbs? Or is it a little bit of both?
Kind of both.
Okay.
So then what you want to do is do something like glass jars. You can use like old mayonnaise jars or whatever, peanut butter jars, as long as they're glass.
Glass, okay.
And then, or you could do, like we do, half-gallon mason jars.
And these work great for ones that's got cracks, chips that you cannot safely can in.
Yeah, so you could do like quart jars or whatever. And then you just want to make sure the lid is on tight. Some people will do like a vacuum seal on them as well. So it kind of is
And you can do decorative jars or as long as that lid is sealed properly. Now, there are some things in which, we dehydrated last year for the very first time. We tried leaf lettuce.
That was weird.
But it was different, but it worked.
Why did we do leaf lettuce?
Well, I was going to see if we could do it for add a flavor to soups or stews or something. I just was experimenting on that procedure. Leeks. People in the United States were trained to eat the lower bleached or white portion of the leek. Most any other country you go to, they eat the whole leek. The whole leek is edible. So the green portions we chop up and dehydrate. You can also just put it right in your stir-fry, soup, stew, whatever, or eat it just as is. Tomatoes we talked about. We did cucumbers. And the yard-long cucumbers, which M.I. Gardner sells and we're growing, when dehydrating, they are very close to a melon taste consistency. They get 36 inches long. And when dehydrated, they almost taste like sweet candy that you would get from the fair. Very, very unique. We have dried, dehydrated okra. Takes the greasiness out of the okra.
I still don't like it.
You can also, with cucumbers, we've dehydrated just normal pickling cucumbers, and sprinkle a little dill weed on it. So you basically have a dehydrated pickle.
Kind of.
Yeah.
It does taste good, though.
And you can dehydrate the cucumbers and put it in water and infuse your water with...
maybe not the dill ones.
Not the dill ones, the plain ones.
The plain ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you like dill water.
So dehydrating is a great way. It's a small investment to preserve a lot of food very easily. And then all you have to do is rehydrate. And you can do trail mixes, you can do fruit roll-ups, you can do all of this stuff on a very cheap scale, but on a more healthier level than what you would buy in the store. Well, when we come back, it's about Holly, and she's going to go over several canning tips that you're going to need in order to can the harvest. If you don't want to dehydrate and you're going to go can, what you can do to can your harvest safely so you don't have to worry about being sick from eating what you've canned right after this.
Use Twitter to reach Joey and Holly at TWVG Show or hashtag TWVG.
The Tree Diaper is an advanced plant hydration system. It is an innovative device that captures and holds the water around your plants once full and hydrates them slowly when the plants need it over a period of 30 days. From half to 30-gallon capacity based on your needs. And easy to install even for a first-time gardener. The Tree Diaper reduces weeds, protects plants, enhances root growth, and prevents overwatering. Whether you're growing trees, vegetables, flowers, houseplants, in containers, or the ground, your plants will benefit greatly by allowing the Tree Diaper to do the work for you. Find out more at treediaper.com. Made in the USA. The
handy safety knife is a patented, high-quality knife that's worn like a ring, so it's always conveniently at hand and very easy and efficient to work with. That's why you'll find the handy safety knife at work in a wide range of industries and applications. Learn more at handysafetyknife.com. Place an order for your business. Call toll-free 866-294-3424.
Use promo code WVG to get 10% off and free shipping, one-time use only, at handysafetyknife.com. Do you have a problem with deer or small herbivores eating your vegetation? There is a natural solution that is safe for your pets and family. Bobex is the answer. An environmentally friendly solution to protect your plants, will not wash off, and is guaranteed. Bobex Deer was independently tested against 9 known competitors and rated 93% effective, second only to a physical barrier. Bobex can be used on all types of ornamentals, trees, and shrubs. Ask for it by name at your local independent garden center. Find out more, visit Bobex.com. BOBBEX.com. Root Assassin, a garden tool that does all the root functions with its advanced shovel that has serrated edges on both sides. Find out more information at rootAssassinShovel.com. Rebel Green, responsibly made natural products that are good for you and the environment. Made in the USA, plant-based, vegan, and always toxic-free. Find out more at rebelgreen.com. Use coupon code WIVEG15 to save 15% off your next purchase at rebelgreen.com/shop. The Zucchini. This garden fun fact is sponsored by ManureTea.com. Get your 3-pack today. Drop the tea bag in water, let steep, and then feed your soil, not your plants. 100% organic. Find out more at ManureTea.com. Always free shipping. The zucchini was first brought to the United States in the 1920s by the Italians. Zucchini has more potassium than a banana. Zucchini is the only fruit that starts with the letter Z. The flowers of the zucchini plant are edible. Fried squash blossoms are considered a delicacy. Flame Engineering, home of the Weed Dragon, the perfect propane torch kit for home and garden use. For killing weeds, no need to pull or spray. 100 other uses. Find out more at flameengineering.com.
Hoss Tools wants to help you grow your own food. From seed starting supplies, hand tools, drip irrigation, harvesting equipment, and a complete line of all-natural pest control solutions, they've got you covered. Keep your garden weed-free with their time-tested, American-made wheel hose that are built to last a lifetime. And their precision garden seeders have proven design for planting a wide variety of seeds. Hoss Tools has what you need to get the most out of your growing space, large or small. Free shipping and outstanding customer service. Shop online or request a free catalog at HossTools.com.
Blue Mel's Garden and Landscape Center offers an awesome selection of high-quality garden and landscape products. We have just the plants you're looking for: annuals, perennials, veggies, herbs, and more. Plus, you can always count on us to answer all of your questions and offer expert advice. Blue Mel's also carries the largest selection of bulk landscape materials in the area. Enjoy a beverage from our coffee shop while your kids run around in our huge playground. Join our growing list of highly satisfied customers. Visit the garden center that offers everything you're looking for. Visit Blue Mel's today.
Blue Mel's, 4930 West Loomis Road, 414-282-4220. The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show is brought to you by the following: Hoss Tools, Tree Diaper, Root Maker, Seeding Square, Rebel Green, Dripping Springs Oil, Zaz Products, Shield and Seal, Pomona Universal Pectin. Find all sponsors at thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com and thank them for their support.
Welcome to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show with your hosts, Joey and Holly Baird.
We talked about dehydrating in the earlier segment there, but we're going to talk about canning. It's kind of a preserving type of program today. Now, canning, to some people, is a very scary proposition, a very scary occupation, I guess, or job to do in the garden. And some people strictly don't can because they are scared, one, of improper canning, and they've heard stories of people being sick. Two, people don't want to can because on the pressure canning side, they've heard these stories of pressure canners exploding, and grandma told me this, that type of thing.
And maybe they don't know anybody who's ever canned.
Right.
That was me. I didn't know anybody who ever canned. I was like, that's not what city people do. So, and I obviously...
And we found out with the guests that we've had on this program, it doesn't matter if you're 20 stories up or near the country, everybody, the canning is for everybody.
Right. So,
and when you go, when you come visit us, if you're able to, at one of Holly's Basics of Canning, we go over some of this material. Now, one of the things is canning safely.
Right.
And how do we do this?
Sure. So this is tips for successful canning and canning safely. So what you want to do is you want to, first of all, you want to think, do I want to can that? You might see this cool recipe for I don't know, we did pickled Swiss chard stems. And you're like, well,
we did it safely. But it tasted like pickled celery.
It was weird.
Yeah, it was not a good...
But so or say you get this overabundance of whatever vegetable, and you're like, well, I don't really like salsa, but maybe I like my own salsa. It's really not going to be it might be tastier, but it's not going to be any
You don't
different.
like salsa, it doesn't matter what kind of salsa you make, you're still not going to like salsa.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to kind of think, is this something I want to have in my pantry that I'm going to eat at some point? We don't eat a lot of jam and jelly, and at one point we canned a lot of jam and jelly. Luckily for us, we gave it away. But that's something you have to keep in mind. So that's one thing. Also, is it safe to can? What process am I using? How am I canning this? So things like if you're going to water bath can, which is a very typical ease into canning way, if you can any vegetables that are low acid, you have to either pickle them, typically pickle them, add an acid to the canning brine, or if it's something like fruit, you have to add sugar, sometimes salt. It just depends. So you have to be smart about how you're canning.
Which if you're going to can and you're going to start off with, don't worry about pressure canning. Don't even think about that. Stick with the water bath. Understand the basic science and the properties and all that goes on with that. And then your pressure canning becomes much easier once you understand that.
Right. And I'm going to say that even though I started canning, I don't know, probably 8 years ago?
2010, 11, yeah.
So I learned a lot from Joey, and I read a lot of books, and I looked at stuff online. I also took a couple classes through the Milwaukee Recreation Department, and I would highly recommend doing that.
With Milwaukee County Master Canner,
Christina Ward.
She's been on the program.
So that's a great resource. Those classes are very cheap.
And you get to take home what you make.
And you get to take home what you've canned.
And she doesn't let you do it wrong.
No, she's definitely a really good instructor. So you learn a lot there, too. I also took a fermentation class as well. So there's a lot of different classes that you can take there. So that's one thing. You want to keep it clean. You want to be safe. So if you use a chopping board for raw chicken, even if you've cleaned it or whatever, you don't want to use that for your canned vegetables or fruits.
If you're going to do a lot of canning, designate specific pieces of equipment strictly for the canning procedure across for years. Don't worry. Don't use that for any other application in the kitchen besides the canning.
Yes. So that's another one. Also, even things like soups or spoons, ladles, spatulas, like spoons and ladles. You want to make sure those are not metal. So you can use plastic or wood, but not metal because they can have a reactive effect.
And when you're doing this canning procedure, number one, if you've never done it before, and you can ask online if you don't know anybody who does can, sit in or have them come over and help them. Not do it for you, but have them help you, because that makes a tremendous difference when you have a well-veteraned canner behind you going, okay, this is how you do it, and this is why you do it. If you don't know anybody in your church or your gatherings or whatever, ask online. Somebody will most likely be able to come and help you with that. Again, when you're doing your canning in your kitchen, small children, pets, animals, all that, make sure they're out. Now, I'm talking young kids, like little infants, that 2, 3, 4. If there's 10, 11, that type of thing, you have to be your own discretion on that. If they're able to help and they want to learn, that's fine. But pets and all that, they need to be out of the...
you probably shouldn't have your 1-year-old crawling around on the kitchen floor while you do this, because first of all, you could possibly trip on that child, or...
you're dealing with very hot things.
Yeah. You don't need to, scald your little one. But yeah, so definitely keep that in mind. Read the recipe. Do you have the ingredients on hand? Do you have enough time? Sometimes you get these recipes and it's soak this for 3 hours or 24 hours.
And you get home from work at 7 o'clock, and that would push you at 10 o'clock before the canning procedure even begins. So you want to be aware of that, as well as if your recipe, what is the standard now? If the recipe is how old, you don't want to use it?
I would say at this point now about 10 years old. If it's over 10 years old, then you don't want to use it. It might not be safe. If you're not sure, you can always reach out to the National Center for Home Food Preservation, your UW Extension, etc., things like that.
So, and then what resources can we find that we know are reliable, safe sources? We just don't want to go to Google how to do this and just pull up the full first recipe we see. There needs to be some credibility behind that recipe, that it just wasn't whoever from Baltimore, Maryland that made this up 25 years ago and it worked for her.
Right. So there's some good websites. One is the Ball Canning website, which is freshpreserving.com. Anything that comes out from Better Homes and Gardens, that's good. Taste of Home, they have good canning recipes. And then SB Canning, so she's from Santa Barbara, SB Canning. She's a master canner out there. She's got great recipes. And the National Center for Home Food Preservation. All of those are safe resources. Oh, and Marissa McClellan that we had on the show, she's from Food in Jars. She's great, too.
If you just search and you're in the Milwaukee area, search Master Canner of Milwaukee County, she will come up as that. So use the right equipment, get the right equipment, make sure you have the right equipment on hand. And with anything, cooking, preserving, the fresher you can get, the better it's going to be. If you don't want to harvest cucumbers on Monday and then decide to pickle them on Sunday afternoon, they're going to lose a lot of flavor, a lot of structure to them because they begin to break down after you harvest them. That's how organic and produce and nature works. As soon as something is harvested or dies, it begins to turn back into the soil.
We get a lot of questions about mushy pickles, and one thing I have to say is that as soon as you harvest them, you do want to can them. So if you're like, I just want to do a small batch real quick, then do a small batch real quick. Another thing is to work quickly. Do not let those sit in that brine for a long time.
Make sure you pickle the right kind of pickles or cucumbers.
That too.
There's pickling cucumbers and slicing cucumbers. Don't intermix the other because they do turn
definitely
mushy.
You just want to work quickly, and if you are really that bothered by cucumbers being too mushy, then do like a refrigerator method.
Or do a small, instead of quarts, do pints because they're in the heat less and they become opportunity of less soft and more crunchy.
Definitely.
And finally, don't overwhelm yourself. Let's start small. Just like gardening, don't decide you're going to do 300 jars and then 25 jars into your season, you're like, I'm done, not going to do this anymore. Be smart about it. Understand how much you feel you can actually handle with the time that you have available, and then do it that, and then gradually work yourself up to a point where 2 years ago we did 320 jars. Last year our harvest was not that great, and we didn't do nearly that many. But know what you're capable of doing. Well, when we come back, Amy Stross, author, blogger from Ohio, will be with us talking about micro-urban farming right after this.
24/7, 365. The WisconsinVegetableGardener.com has all the gardening information you need. Videos, digital magazines, replays of shows, and more.
I know you're looking for an alternative to harsh chemicals, but you want professional strength products. BioSafe's garden line gives you just that. Professionally used for 20 years, available to homeowners. Organic solutions that are effective. They offer an array of eco-friendly products, from plant food, fertilizer, to one-of-a-kind herbicides, organic weed killer. BioSafe's products can be used around children, pets, wildlife, so you can enjoy your yard more. Grow stronger, healthier with BioSafe. Find us on Facebook at BioSafe Home and Garden, and visit us at biosafe.net to learn more. Get 10% off your next purchase at biosafe.net by using coupon code TWVG at checkout.
Pomona's Universal Pectin is high-quality pectin that gels reliably with low amounts of any sweetener. If you're trying to reduce the amount of sugar in your diet, you'll love Pomona's Universal Pectin. Now you can make healthy homemade jams and jellies sweetened to your taste. You can use sugar, honey, or any alternative sweetener you'd like. Pomona's Universal Pectin keeps indefinitely when stored in an airtight container. Easy to use, versatile, and comes with directions and recipes in every box. Find out more and where to buy at PomonaPectin.com. Available at most natural food stores and online.
The number one key to healthy, productive plants are the roots. Starting from seed to full-grown plants, RootMaker.com has the answer. From seed starting trays with an innovative design that air prunes the roots, creating a fabulous root system, never again will you have root-bound plants, to multiple gallon grow bag sizes to raised beds. Rootmaker.com has your grow needs covered. Visit rootmaker.com. Purple Cow Organics quickly and naturally increases the uptake of nutrients and water to your plants with their new bioactive vegetable supercharger designed to meet the unique needs by helping the living organisms in the soil help plants uptake the nutrients more quickly through their roots and leaves. Find out more at purplecoworganics.com. The Gardener's Hollow Leg, the debris and harvesting bag you wear, comes with its own belt attachment, perfect for doing light pruning, weeding, harvesting on the ground or on a ladder, and many other uses. Find out more at thegardenershollowleg.com. Save 10% by using the word veggies at checkout. Zaz Products, offering great quality supplements that can help personal health and increase longevity. Committed to bringing you the highest quality products at the lowest price. Find out more at zazproducts.com.
Mycorrhizae is a beneficial fungus from PlantSuccessOrganics.com that will greatly increase your plant's germination ability and healthier root structure. You can increase seed sprouting, root growth, and general plant germination. Mycorrhizae can be used with hydroponic root cutting, seed sprouting, cocoa coir, and soil. PlantSuccessOrganics.com carries powder, granule, and tablet form of mycorrhizae. Increase the level of mycorrhizae in your soil to give your plant the optimal opportunity to produce incredible harvests. For more information and to purchase, visit PlantSuccessOrganics.com.
Garden seeds do not have to cost a fortune, just 99 cents at migardener.com. Now with over 450 varieties of non-GMO, heirloom, and organic flower, vegetable, and herb seeds available year-round. Pay less and get more seeds. Shipping as low as $2.50. That just makes sense. Go to migardener.com for seeds and garden needs, tools, and special blend fertilizers. migardener.com. It's that simple. Family owned and operated. The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener is brought to you by the following: Handy Safety Knife, BioSafe, Tall Earth, Chapin International, The Plant Booster, Ivy Organics, Woodman's Market, Blue Mel's Landscape and Garden Center. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support.
Now back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Garden Radio Show with your hosts, Joey and Hallie Baird.
It's midsummer, but it's still opportunities to get your landscape the way you want it, and bulk material is probably the best option, whether it's wood chips or if you're topping off raised beds or grow areas. Blue Mel's Landscape and Garden Center has that. And when you go and get those materials, they have 40 different varieties in which you can choose from. You can stop into the coffee shop there as well and get you a beverage before you get tackling your job. And any advice you need, they will certainly give you the correct answer, not the answer that you want to hear. Blue Mel's Landscape and Garden Center is the place for all of that and more.
They are at 4930 West Loomis Road in Greenfield, just south of Layton, and you can call them at 414-282-4220 or visit them online at bluemels.com.
They will surpass all of your expectations. If we want to go to the Ivy Organics 3-in-1 Plant Guard Hotline, Holly, and bring in our next guest.
Amy Stross is an author and blogger living in Ohio. She's an urban homesteader, student, and home economist. She writes all about microfarming, modern homesteading, and more. Welcome to the program, Amy.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Now, you are a small urban farmer or a micro farmer. How did you get into that?
It happened quite by accident, actually. Over 10 years ago, I was a high school teacher. I found my job to be fairly stressful, as anyone can imagine, working with teenagers. And I was also experiencing some health issues that, a lot of pain that I was dealing with. I was looking for something therapeutic, a sort of hobby that I could jump into. And I decided to take on gardening. I had never gardened before. I kind of think of it as my dirt therapy, having my hands in the dirt, having the sun on my skin, tinkering with plants. I found it to be so therapeutic, actually, that I kind of dove in, kind of in a geeky way. I started studying soil science. I became certified in permaculture, which is designing agricultural landscapes that work with nature. And I started taking on garden clients, garden design clients in my community. And I even started a community garden. And so all of this tinkering that I was doing in my yard and in my community actually sort of morphed into this second career for me because I found it so rewarding and contagious. So I started sharing what I was learning through my experiences on my website, 10thacrefarm.com.
Great. And Amy, we appreciate you calling in, but it sounds like you might be on speakerphone. There's a lot of echoey feedback possibly, or if you're on a Bluetooth device, I'm not really sure. But if you are on speakerphone, if you could take us off, that'd be helpful.
You grow in a very small area, and tell us about your homestead. It's 1/10 of an acre, which people may not be familiar with the size of that, but you produce a lot in that very small area.
Yes, the original 10th acre farm was very small, 1/10 of an acre, so that's how my website got its name. And we were just growing on a small suburban plot in the middle of a suburban neighborhood. We did have a lot of challenges that regular gardeners experience, dealing with small spaces, poor soil, sloping land. And, it was a challenge. Even the shade, those were all challenges that I was dealing with in my yard that I think a lot of, residential growers have to deal with. But, one of my biggest challenges was growing in my front yard because that's where I had the most sun and the most open area to grow in. So figuring out how to grow in the front yard so that I still had a good relationship with my neighbors, managing water properly, making it very aesthetically pleasing, and also being very productive. That was a big challenge for me. So those were all the things that I was experiencing. The front yard ended up being a very integrated permaculture landscape with a lot of perennial fruits growing. I had currants, black raspberries, cherries, strawberries growing up there. And, all of these experiences actually I'm excited to take into my next experience, which now I'm living on 3 acres. We've recently moved. But all of these things that I learned will be, applicable here as well because most of our 3 acres is wooded. So I'm still growing in a very similar sized area.
Well, whenever you were growing in the front yard there, was there any restrictions based on the city ordinances and where you lived that prohibited you from doing certain things that you wanted to do, or was you able to work around those restrictions by incorporating things where other people may not notice them?
There weren't any specific restrictions that I was working with. I know that a lot of people deal with that if they live in an HOA or something like that. But one of the things that I was doing, because I love, the science of it all and experimenting and figuring out what works, that's all part of what, makes me come alive. And so when I was experimenting in my front yard, I wanted to find strategies that would be applicable for anyone, even if you were living with restrictions about what you can grow. The landscape ended up being very beautiful, and nobody would know that it was, an edible landscape unless they were familiar with those types of plants.
Oh, and then now since you've moved to the 3 acres, do you have animals now, or is that something that you're wanting to incorporate, like chickens for eggs and that type of thing?
Actually, when you speak about restrictions, that's actually one restriction that we have here. We're still in the suburbs, and so we're not zoned agricultural, and we actually are not allowed to keep livestock here.
Okay. So you consider yourself a modern homesteader. Many people think of homestead as livestock, grain stock, and more. Obviously, you can't have the agricultural aspect with the livestock. What makes somebody a modern homesteader, would you say?
I think this idea of being a homesteader is kind of rooted in this idea of, providing some of our own needs and being more self-sufficient. And so I think that we can carry that spirit into our modern ways of living, regardless of, the traditional way of homesteading is to have a more rural landscape where you've got a lot more land and you can really be, work toward full self-sufficiency. But I feel like we can do that in the suburbs and in our urban spaces, and I've been seeing a big comeback in this area in recent years. I think people really want to have some, grounding in their local environment. They want to have a connection with the spaces in which they live. It's kind of a response to this hyper technological world that we're now living with. When we can go into our backyards and have, a relationship with that space and grow some of our own food and feel connected to it, I think that it, of course, in my case, I can say for sure, it becomes this therapeutic experience, but also very rewarding when you can meet some of your own needs, no matter, the size of your space or what you're dealing with. I've even heard of, apartment dwellers who consider themselves homesteaders because, they're focusing on finding, sourcing local, food and then, preserving that harvest for the winter. And they're doing that for themselves as a response to, this consumer-based lifestyle. So I think we can have homesteading in this modern sense, regardless of what our living conditions are.
Well, you manage what is called a CSA. For people who are unfamiliar with a CSA is, what is that? And how can people anywhere in the world or in the United States find out where they may have a CSA at and be part of it?
Yes, I have managed a CSA in the past. When I first started over 10 years ago, I got involved in a CSA as a participant, and CSA stands for Community Supported Agriculture. And in this type of setup, you have a relationship with a local farmer. It's a subscription-based model, so at the beginning of the growing season, you would pay an annual fee. And this is sort of an investment into your local farmers, and it helps them buy seeds and equipment and materials to get the season going. And then in return, you get a weekly share of produce. Usually it's a CSA modeled in produce, fruits and vegetables, but I've also seen CSAs that are selling meat products or dairy products. So the CSA model can be applied to any agricultural situation. But when I was involved in the CSA, first as a participant, I found it to be incredibly rewarding, so I joined the management team there. And it was incredible to see what goes into feeding 100 families. That's, the administration behind that and the hard work of the farmers to coordinate it all and make it happen when every year you're dealing with different, temperatures changes, rainfall changes, and different weather conditions that are beyond your control, and still you have to figure out how to eke out, this produce for the number of shares you have. It's an incredible experience, and what I find is that the CSA program helps us learn how to use and preserve, the food that's coming in throughout the garden season. So when you go to be a gardener yourself, the CSA is kind of a stepping stone that helps you get connected with that side of things, what to do after you've harvested things. And I think CSAs are pretty easy to find. There are some websites out there, but, the easiest way is just to Google, CSA and then, the name of your community. So I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio, so I would just Google CSA Cincinnati, Ohio to see what comes up. But a lot of those CSAs are popping up, especially surrounding metropolitan areas.
Great. Now, what are some tips for starting a garden on a small budget?
I think we can use tips for starting a garden no matter if we have a big budget or a small budget. My answer would be the same. because I think, as gardeners, we're so excited to get started when we think about having a garden. So my first suggestion is to start slow and to start small. When you start with a small garden, you can always work up. You can always increase your garden space over time as you learn to manage it. What we don't want is for you to start out as a beginning gardener with a very large space to garden, and you quickly become overwhelmed, and we don't want it to become something that's not enjoyable. We don't want it to become a source of stress. We want it to be, a rewarding experience. So when we start small, learn to garden in a small space, then we can work our way up to bigger spaces. My other suggestion is to be a collector of organic matter. So whether that means becoming, starting a compost bin of your own. Worm composting bins are an excellent way to compost your food scraps, whether that's calling a local tree company and starting to get free deliveries of wood chips, or whether that's going around in the fall and collecting leaf bags from your neighbors who are setting their leaf bags out as waste. Collecting all of this organic matter is going to really be helpful when you go to start gardens, because as gardeners, we never have enough organic material, and it's going to help us build healthy soil and prevent pests from the get-go.
Absolutely. Well, Amy, we greatly appreciate you coming on the program. How can people find out more information about you and follow your journey?
People can find me on my website, 10thacrefarm.com, and I have a special gift for subscribers of my newsletter, which is my guide to organic soil amendments. And, what I was just mentioning about collecting organic material and how helpful it is and important it is for building healthy soil, it's also very important to choose the right organic amendments for your particular situation. So the free guide that I have for newsletter subscribers will help people choose the right amendments for their situation. Also, my book, The Suburban Microfarm, it really gets into the challenges and barriers of residential gardeners, especially dealing with, poor soil and shade and sloping land. I get into permaculture a lot in the book. So I encourage people to check that out. It's called The Suburban Microfarm, and it can be found at thesuburbanmicrofarm.com. And you can find me on social media, actually. I'm 10th Acre Farm. You can find me on Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, and Instagram.
Well, Amy, we thank you very much for coming on, sharing your knowledge with Holly, myself, and all of our listeners.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you, Amy.
And when we come back, your garden questions, our garden answers, right after this.
If you have a gardening question, now is the time to call in on the ivorganics.com 3-in-1 Plant Guard hotline at 414-444-5250.
Do you enjoy hanging baskets but struggle to keep them properly watered? The Plant Booster Self-Watering System is a mechanical system that will ensure optimal soil moisture at all times by reacting to the weight of each plant. The weight of each plant tells the system how much water it needs, unlike a timer-controlled system where all plants get water at the same time, whether they need it or not. Also ideal for condos or apartments with no outdoor water source. Check out details, videos, and extensive explanation and ideas for application at plantbooster.net. I know you're looking for natural and organic food, but at a great price. I found the place. Woodman's has what you need. Woodman's offers a huge natural and organic selection with some of the area's largest organic meats, produce, and dairy departments. Shop consciously, but it won't break the bank. They have aisles of all the organic food, snacks, and treats you've been looking for, so you and your family can eat healthier without overpaying. Visit their Milwaukee area store locations, Kenosha, Menominee Falls, Oak Creek, and Waukesha, or visit woodmans-food.com to find the nearest location to you. Beans and Barley Market and Cafe, a neighborhood specialty grocery store for the east side and greater Milwaukee Milwaukee area, where you can find all you need, from fresh produce to bakery to organic frozen dinners, from wine to fresh squeezed carrot juice. A health food store with hundreds of products, vitamins, supplements, bath and body items, magazines, cards, books, and a knowledgeable staff. Catering available, open daily at 8 a.m. The restaurant serves breakfast, lunch, and dinner 7 days a week with a menu of good, healthy, homemade food, including vegetarian and non-vegetarian specialties. 1901 East North Avenue, Milwaukee, 414-278-7878, and online at beansandbarley.com.
Tall Earth Wood Treatment All-in-One Preservative and Stain offers lifetime protection and creates a unique silver-aged wood finish. All ingredients are non-toxic, eco-friendly, perfect for garden beds and veg truck. Find out more at tallearth.com. Free shipping on all orders. Use coupon code WISCONVEG to save 15% off orders placed at tallearth.com. Shield and Seal vacuum sealers and the highest quality vacuum sealing products, unique black and clear and all black bags, protecting your produce and product better than traditional bags. Find out more at shieldandseal.com. It's that time to get your lawn lush and green with the Chapin spreader, the broadcast spreader that outperforms all in their class. Get consistent results year after year as if you had hired your own professional lawn service. Find Chapin spreaders online or order through your local Home Depot, Lowe's, True Value, or Do It Best hardware stores. To see the full line of Chapin lawn and garden products, go to www.chapinmfg.com. This season, arm yourself with the better spreader, Chapin.
Blue Mel's Garden and Landscape Center offers an awesome selection of high-quality garden and landscape products. We have just the plants you're looking for: annuals, perennials, veggies, herbs, and more. Plus, you can always count on us to answer all of your questions and offer expert advice. Blue Mel's also carries the largest selection of bulk landscape materials in the area. Enjoy a beverage from our coffee shop while your kids run around in our huge playground. Join our growing list of highly satisfied customers. Visit the garden center that offers everything you're looking for. Visit Blue Mel's today.
Blue Mel's, 4930 West Loomis Road, 414-282-4220. The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show is brought to you by the following: Haas Tools, Tree Diaper, Root Maker, Seeding Square, Rebel Green, Dripping Springs Oil, Zaz Products, Shield and Seal, Pomona Universal Pectin. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support.
Now back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Garden Radio Show with your hosts, Joey and Holly Baird.
You can certainly give us a ring, jam your fingers in phones. If you've got a question about gardening, you can do that for the IV Organics 3-in-1 Plant Guard hotline.
Yeah, you can call 414-444-5250. IV Organic 3-in-1 Plant Guard naturally protects plants against damaging sunburn, insects, and rodents, protects newly installed plants and trees, shields pruned and damaged surfaces for use on your roses, fruit, and nut trees, ornamental trees, and shrubs. This product is non-toxic, environmentally safe, and organic. For more information, visit ivorganics.com. That's 414-444-5250.
Pat emailed us, and you can do that. You can send us an email. You can send us a tweet, twvgshow@gmail.com. We've got different questions came in on all social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, email. Pat emailed us and said, I have a question here about pole beans. This is the first time I'm planting them, and they're getting really tall but have very few white blossoms on it. And they're not developing yet. Somebody told me you should cut the tops off. Please help. Well, you don't want to cut the tops off or the growth tips off of your pole beans. The reason for that is if you decide to cut the tops or the growth tips off, it's not going to develop more beans on the plant. What's going to occur is the plant's going to get bushier, put more leaves on it because it's getting stressed from the top, and it's not going to so you're going to have much more lush plant, but not very many beans. Pole beans take 70 to 80 days to reach maturity. Then they begin to develop their fruit, and they'll produce all the way till frost. So the best thing to do is be patient, wait until the fruit begins to, or the beans begin to develop, and then harvest them regularly. If you continue to harvest them regularly, then the plant will continue to produce. If you leave them alone and they get large and mature, the plant will shut down and die because the reproductive cycle is already complete. So keep that in mind. Another question here came in, or more of a comment, in regards to basics of making tomato whole canned tomatoes. I really appreciate, Holly, that you show your mistakes and what can happen in the canning process.
So what had happened was that we did a video on canning whole tomatoes, and we made a mistake. We didn't make the jars hot before we put the hot tomatoes in there, and then before we put the hot stuff into the hot water. And so what happened is that cool jar, between the combination of the hot tomatoes in the jar and then putting it into the hot water, it basically cracked the bottom of the jar. Joey and I we put one jar and we heard this like popping noise almost, and we're like, that's weird, what's that? I don't know. So then we put another one in, and then we realized that we were breaking jars. So definitely we make mistakes too.
And the conclusion of that comment was, it really helps when starting out. I've had a lot of success with your awesome recipes, which, Holly, you've gotten from reliable sources, Ball, National Home for Food Preservation, SB Canning, especially your apple, butter, pear, butter, etc. Your jams, you are an angel. So that's
that's so nice.
Yeah, it's very nice. So you can follow all of those. Just go to the website and specifically type in the search bar what you want to look for on your basics or canning what you grow, and there's 45 different recipes that you can pick from. Real quick here, my plants are doing terrific in my straw bale garden, but they are collapsing as they decompose, and there's an orangey, powdery substance. What is it? Well,
it's called dog vomit fungus.
It's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. It's just, it happens on organic mulch as well.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah, so that's one thing. We looked it up, and if you have that issue, definitely look it up and see if the pictures compare to what you have.
It's not bad.
No.
But you just don't want to just leave it alone. It'll go away on its own.
Yeah.
With fire blight on my apple tree, can you help me with that? Well, first of all, fire blight is a disease that affects apples and pears and some other members of that family. It's a serious disease that pear and apple producers are concerned with because it can eradicate an entire orchard over a growing season. There is some ways in which you can control it. You want to select a variety that's resistant to that if you can. Avoid heavy pruning and over-fertilization in the nitrogen levels, as this would increase growth if you're in an area where it's more susceptible. Avoid planting close to wild plants of the hawthorn of apple or pear. As soon as fire blight is discovered, you can prune off the infected branches 1 foot below the diseased section and then burn those to prevent any further infection. You want to dip your cutters, your pruners, in a 10% mixture of alcohol and bleach between each cut so you don't infect new cutting areas. Early application of liquid copper fungicide is effective against this problem. You want to follow the recommended mixture rates on that. There are other different applications in which you can get this, but if you think you've got some problems with your plants, look up fire blight and see if the images match what the problems you're having are, and then follow the recommended rates and advice that you're finding to get rid of the infected parts of the particular tree. In regards to your how to make kombucha segment a couple of weeks ago, I make a lot of kombucha and I have a lot of SCOBY. I have read that you can dehydrate it in a food dehydrator and give it to your dog as a treat. Is this true? Yes, it is. You can dehydrate and they enjoy it very much so. If you have animals, chickens, goats, pigs, that type of thing, they'll eat it. It's got a high level of vitamin B. You can also bury it in your garden or your compost pile, and it will do the same thing. You can also divide it, which is what we would recommend if you can encourage your friends and family to brew their own kombucha. That's the best way to do it. Create the SCOBY yourself, and then or buy one and go that route. Now, not everybody likes kombucha, so you want to make it and see if they like it first, and then you can encourage them to brew their own. I've taken it to some friends, and they were not at all fond of the taste. I guess it's an acquired taste. There's a lot of great health benefits to kombucha, and if you don't like to make it, maybe you can find a flavor at the store that you do like, and you can get the benefits there. We are out of time, and we certainly appreciate your time, you being part of the program, allowing us to take a little bit of your Saturday morning to inspire you and inform you of some gardening techniques that may be beneficial to you in your particular growing situation. Join us next week. Programming note, we're going to discuss, and we want to hear from you, why do you garden? Who influenced you? Was it an aunt? Was it an uncle? Did you see it on TV? Or was it a choice that you made that was best for your family? We want to hear your stories, as well as what is the Mittleiter gardening method. It's a technique that some people are not familiar with, and it's not always for everybody. We'll go over the details on that, as well as our guest, Lisa Davis, MPH. She is the host of NPR's It's Your Health. She's also an author. She'll be with us to talk about healthy living and healthy eating. Miss any portion of this program or want to revisit it in its entirety, you can certainly find that at the website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, under the radio tab. And if you want a specific interview or individual highlight segment, you can find that under the highlight tab on the right-hand side of the main page. And we're on many platforms: iTunes, Stitcher, Podomatic, Google Play, TuneIn, and a variety of other ones. Well, until next week, for Holly Baird, I'm Joy Baird, and we will see you in the garden.
You have been listening to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show. Tell a friend and join Joey and Holly again next week so we can all grow together. The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show is a production of the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com in association with WI Garden Media Broadcast, live from the WNOV 860 AM and the W293CX 106.5 FM, Courier Communication Studios in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.